This story unfolds on November 12, 1942, in Richmond, California. A thick morning fog cloaks San Francisco Bay, softening the roar of hammers and the sharp hiss of welding torches as a massive crowd gathers along the waterfront. Before them looms a colossal cargo ship, 441 feet long and displacing over 14,000 tons, poised to glide into the water from Permanente Metals Corporation Yard No. 2. But this is no ordinary vessel. It has been pieced together in just 4 days, 15 hours and 29 minutes. What once demanded 6 to 8 months of painstaking craftsmanship by seasoned experts has been achieved in less than a week by an unlikely crew. Over 1,000 workers step back from the hull of the SS Robert E. Peary, not grizzled shipwrights or veteran sailors, but everyday folks who, mere weeks ago, were farmers, teachers, homemakers, and office clerks. As reporters scribble furiously and camera flashes pierce the mist, everyone senses this is more than a shiplore. It is the dawn of an industrial revolution, an American triumph, forged not on distant battlefields, but through sheer ingenuity, blistering speed, and unbreakable resolve. This is a new arithmetic of victory, scripted not in military tactics but in the relentless rhythm of production lines that will tip the scales of war. Our tale traces back 2 years earlier to December 27, 1940, when a 58-year-old construction tycoon named Henry Kaiser inked his first shipbuilding contract. Kaiser, a master of massive dams like Hoover and sprawling highways, had never laid a keel or navigated a shipyard. Yet he boldly pledged to the United States Maritime Commission that he would deliver 30 cargo vessels to Britain within 2 years as part of the vital Lend-Lease program. This lifeline from America allowed the Allies to borrow weapons, food, and supplies without immediate payment, keeping Britain afloat amid relentless German assaults and bolstering the Soviet Union against Nazi invasions. The traditional shipbuilding elite scoffed at Kaiser, branding him a naive outsider meddling in their sacred domain. To them, ships were intricate masterpieces, not mass-produced commodities. But Kaiser viewed them differently, as vast steel puzzles that could be assembled like Henry Ford's automobiles. Inspired by a visit from his chief engineer, Clay Bedford, to Ford's Detroit assembly lines, where chassis rolled past workers, adding parts in precise, repetitive motions, Bedford returned with a spark of genius. What if ships could be built the same way? The old guard dismissed it as lunacy. They relied on millions of red-hot rivets, hammered in by synchronized teams of skilled artisans. Kaiser countered with something audacious, welding the ships together instead. It promised to be faster, cheaper, and potentially stronger, but it was unproven on such a colossal scale. Vice Admiral Emery Land, head of the Maritime Commission, harbored deep doubts, fearing that welding vast expanses of steel might lead to catastrophic failures. Yet desperation ruled the day. German U-boats prowled the Atlantic like wolves, sinking Allied ships at a terrifying rate, faster than replacements could be built. Britain's islands teetered on starvation, and the Soviet front lines hungered for American tanks and ammunition. With no alternatives, Kaiser's bold experiment got the green light, not out of faith, but out of sheer necessity. From the muddy shores of Richmond, Kaiser's shipyard sprang up like a vision from the future, nothing like the cramped, crane-dotted slips of yesteryear. It sprawled wide like an auto factory, with enormous steel sections prefabricated in remote plants across the nation, then railed in and hoisted by gigantic cranes that could lift entire modules into place. Visiting veteran builders recoiled in horror, claiming it defied every timeless principle of their craft. But they could not argue with the results. Kaiser recruited anyone eager to learn, drawing thousands from farms, schools, and homes. Farmers wielded torches, secretaries aligned plates, high schoolers assembled bulkheads, and grandmothers mastered welding seams. He trained them not over years, but in mere weeks, breaking complex tasks into simple, repeatable steps that turned ordinary citizens into a formidable industrial force. Yet this transformation came with harsh realities. Workers toiled in round-the-clock shifts amid scorching heat from welds, the constant risk of falls from heights, and the thunder of heavy machinery. Accidents were inevitable in such frenzy, though Kaiser pushed for better safety measures than the era's norm. Women, dubbed Rosie the Riveter after the iconic poster of a flexing factory worker, flooded the yards, proving their mettle in roles once reserved for men. They earned paychecks that shattered gender barriers, though often facing unequal wages and skepticism. African-American workers, too, found opportunities in integrated crews, learning trades that promised brighter futures, even as they battled lingering discrimination and fought through unions for fair treatment. Kaiser's yards became microcosms of social change, where skill trumped prejudice and every hand contributed to the war effort. Production times plummeted dramatically. The first Liberty ship took 197 days, the next 169, then 128. By spring of 1942, they were churning out vessels in 70 days, leaving traditional yards in the dust. Kaiser innovated further with parallel construction, building hulls while engines roared to life in separate zones, then craning massive assemblies together in hours instead of weeks. Naval skeptics decried it as reckless madness, but Vice Admiral Howard L. Vickery, once a fierce opponent, conceded that perfection was the enemy of good enough. Kaiser's ships were utilitarian, boxy, and unglamorous, but they floated, they sailed, and they delivered when the world needed them most. Rivalry fueled even greater feats. Kaiser's son Edgar oversaw the Oregon yards, while Bedford commanded Richmond, each striving to shatter records. In September 1942, Oregon completed a ship in 10 days. Undeterred, Richmond aimed for the unimaginable half that time. At midnight on November 8th, over 1,000 workers swarmed the yard for the SS Robert E. Peary. Prefabricated bows, sterns, engine rooms, and holds stood ready. Welders, fitters, and crane operators labored in seamless shifts, their efforts a symphony of sparks and steel. By the fourth day, the ship stood whole. At 3:30 in the afternoon on November 12th, the Peary slid triumphantly into the bay, fully assembled in 4 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes. The crowd exploded in cheers. Vice Admiral Land, once a doubter, stood awestruck. 6 months ago, he admitted, I would have deemed this impossible. Henry Kaiser has rendered old wisdom obsolete, but innovation brought perils too. Welding, while revolutionary, exposed flaws in the rush. In the frigid North Atlantic, some Liberty ships cracked along seams due to brittle steel and imperfect techniques, with a few even snapping in half like the SS Schenectady in 1943. These failures claimed lives and cargo, but Kaiser's engineers adapted swiftly, reinforcing hulls with extra straps and refining materials to prevent catastrophe. It was a testament to resilience, turning setbacks into stronger designs that kept the supply lines open. What ensued was an industrial miracle. Yards nationwide adopted Kaiser's methods, slashing average build times to 42 days by 1943. America now launched 3 ships daily, outpacing the U-boat's grim toll. In contrast, Germany focused on predatory submarines but could not match the Allies' sheer volume. While Japan struggled with fragmented production, their merchant fleet dwindling under American blockades. Kaiser's empire peaked at nearly 200,000 employees, 40,000 of them women like the real-life Rosies, who not only riveted and welded, but inspired a cultural shift, proving women's capabilities in the workforce and paving the way for post-war equality. Thousands of Black Americans gained skills and dignity in these yards, challenging segregation and fueling civil rights momentum. Kaiser built more than ships. He forged communities. Richmond ballooned from 23,000 residents to over 100,000 in 3 years, while in Oregon, he erected Vanport City, a makeshift metropolis for 40,000 workers and families, complete with schools and shops, though its hasty construction left it vulnerable to later floods. To safeguard his workforce's health, Kaiser pioneered a prepaid medical plan that evolved into Kaiser Permanente, one of America's largest healthcare systems, ensuring care for all amid the grueling labor. By war's end in 1945, his yards had birthed nearly 1,500 ships, over a quarter of the nation's 2,710 Liberty vessels. These humble workhorses ferried tanks to Normandy's beaches on D-Day, jeeps across the Pacific to island-hopping campaigns, and ammunition through treacherous Arctic convoys to Murmansk, sustaining the Soviet fight against Hitler. Each could haul 10,000 tons of cargo, equivalent to 440 tanks or 2,840 jeeps, turning the tide in every theater. Plain, slow at 11 knots, and designed for just 5 years of service, many endured decades. Sold post-war to nations like Greece and Italy for global trade, some repurposed as passenger liners or aid vessels. Their modular blueprint influenced modern shipbuilding worldwide, from Japan's Nagasaki docks to South Korea's Hyundai giants, extending to bridges, homes, and even aerospace. Ordinary people, empowered by training and vision, achieved the extraordinary, a principle that redefined industry. A few Liberty ships survive today as floating museums. The SS Jeremiah O'Brien still sails from San Francisco, recreating its Normandy voyage for visitors who can feel the throb of its steam engines and touch history. The SS John W. Brown in Baltimore offers tours, preserving the era's spirit. When Admiral Chester Nimitz later reflected on the Pacific victory, he credited not just frontline valor, but the home front's ingenuity, saying Japan's leaders thought they could sink ships faster than we built them, but they never reckoned with Henry Kaiser. That was the war's hidden edge. Kaiser's legacy transcends steel and rivets. It is the audacious belief that boundaries are mere illusions, that tradition yields to progress, and that united hands can reshape destiny. From that first contract in 1940 to the Peary's splash in 1942 and the last Liberty ship in 1945, Kaiser and his workers did not merely construct vessels, they crafted proof that human spirit, unleashed from chains of doubt, can conquer the impossible. And so, in every modern shipyard's hum, in the echo of a welder's arc across oceans, lingers the thunder of the Peary's launch, a timeless reminder that the extraordinary begins with one bold idea